You've probably heard the clickbait on YouTube that you can get into real estate with 0% down. Well, today we're actually going to show you a real deal on the forums on BiggerPockets of what that actually looks like with my good friend Anson Young. Anson, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am great. Thanks for asking. Anson, as you know, I'm the community manager here at BiggerPockets, so I'm always looking at the forums, looking at deals, and I found a deal that I wanted to kind of pick your brain on and get your perspective on. Is that all right with you today?
That sounds great. Let's do it.
So I found a deal from Adam Deshone, a user on the forums, and he's investing in a duplex in South Bend, Indiana, and he's using a unique way of putting 0% down into it with seller financing and actually bank financing. So it looks like with this deal, it looks pretty nice off the intro. It looks like he got it for a purchase price of $130,000, and it actually is valued at $160,000 and is cash flowing about $200 a month. So Anson, what do you think so far?
I wish I could buy a duplex for $130,000 all day long in my market. And yeah, combination of seller financing and bank financing with, you said $200 a month in cash flow. I mean, so far it's looking pretty good, but I'm sure that there's more to it than that.
So Anson and I are located in Colorado, so it's very unfamiliar to us to hear cash flow today. So that's why we're really excited about this deal and analyzing a little bit. So first off, it looks like the deal, cash flowing $200 a month. It's obviously great numbers on $160,000 purchase price and hits almost that 1% rule that we look for. So off cash flow numbers, what are you thinking so far, Anson?
200 total, so it's $100 a door, right? That might be a little thin for some veteran investors. If you have a ton of money invested and you're only getting, if you put 25% down and you're getting $200 a month, that's kind of a hard sell. Almost anything that goes wrong with the property, you're kind of dipping into your funds immediately. And I think that the $200 a month was after all expenses. And so he's looking at $400 total, and then expenses are eating up half of that, which seems a little light. But at $200 a month, $100 a door, some investors are totally great with that. And, to me, it's a little thin, but I think that the thing that saves it is that he actually doesn't have any money into the deal.
Yeah, and obviously with the $30,000 of equity from intro right away, I mean, that opens a lot of doors to, you hate to say equity could be reserves, but you have the potential to refinance this loan in potentially, let's say, 1 to 2 years. Getting into the loan specifically, it looks like with this, he did a bank finance for 30 years, and there's a 15-year balloon on that. So I know, Anson, you've gone directly to sellers for some flip deals in the past. Can you tell me about what a balloon payment is?
That's basically when the loan blows up, the balloon pops. Is in 15 years, you basically have to get out of that loan somehow. Otherwise, there's either penalties or the entire thing is just called due. It looks like he has 2 balloon payments on there. 15 years, that's a long time to worry. You don't have to really do anything with it for a long time, which is nice. There are some balloons that are 2 or 3 year balloons, and you have to pretty much immediately start working on refinancing after, you stabilize the rents and stuff. In this case, a 15-year balloon, it's kind of interesting for a bank product to be a 30-year loan with a 15-year balloon. There must be some sort of trade-off there with interest rate or something, but he has a long time to worry about that balloon popping on the bank financing. So I think he's going to be okay.
Great to hear, because I know when I hear that balloon and that pop at the end, to me, that's really scary. And for me, that sounds like a 15-year loan instead of a 30-year loan. So to hear it from your perspective, obviously, this is great to ease my nerves on what this deal looks like.
No, I think you have to look at it as that 15-year loan. It's just amortized over 30 years. So if you're not looking at it as a 15-year timeline, that's where you can get into trouble. Thankfully, it's amortized over 30 years, so his payments are less.
We know the bank financing side of things, and now I want to get into the seller financing part of things. So on paper, 4% rate, we're recording this here in 2024. This deal was done in 2022. Anson, 4% with seller financing. I know you just said you had somebody that you've actively talked to in my own market that is doing that. So is that a really crazy concept that we're missing out on? Is that something that's still in practice today?
4% is kind of catching the golden egg. It is pretty rare to get that low, since people can put their money into an index fund and get more than that. You kind of have to run across the special seller who is willing to take it. The gentleman that you and I both know down in Colorado Springs, I think he did 90% of his loan as seller finance at 4%. It was just a special circumstance where it was owned free and clear. The seller just wanted those payments over time and also didn't want to gouge the investor. So it's kind of an investor to investor sale, just like this one, where, this tired landlord was okay with that 4%. And for him, it's only 25% of the purchase price. Whereas some sellers are taking on, 80% of that purchase price as the seller financing. So I think that the seller is in a good spot because that has a balloon pop, eventually too. So it's not like it's going to be 30 years till he gets his entire, 25% out of it.
It really sounds like a win-win from both teams, essentially, the seller and the buyer here. So with Adam finding this deal, and you've had some work in seller financing as well, does Adam need to really know his market to be able to go directly to the seller, or is this something that I can do in Colorado and go and find a seller motivated in South Bend, Indiana, that I had no idea of? Or is it going to take a lot of time and boots on the ground for me to really understand that, to talk to that seller?
Yeah, so I mean, you kind of have to know the basics of seller financing, what to ask for, what scenarios it works in. Not all sellers can offer seller financing, even if they wanted to. Typically, it's a seller who has very high equity, like their loan's almost paid off, or it's completely paid off. And in the first scenario, they would just, some people pay off their loan of like the last $10,000 in order to now be free and clear. So you typically have to be free and clear in order to go forward as the seller. So you as the buyer, you just have to know what you're talking about. You have to know kind of what interest rates and amortization and balloons kind of all look like. So when you're talking to the seller, you know what you're talking about. You can educate them on perhaps some of the pros and cons of going with seller financing, some of the tax savings, not taking kind of lump sum payments. Some older sellers might have penalties for taking lump sum payments if they're also getting Medicare or something like that. And so there's a lot of different moving parts in there, but it shouldn't take too long to kind of get to know what you're talking about. And you can grab people on the market. So sometimes listings are advertised as, partial seller financing. Owner will carry is kind of the term in MLS. So sometimes these are listed on MLS as owner finance, and some of them you can find on Redfin or Zillow. The seller knows what they're talking about. They know what seller financing is, and they're offering it out there as an incentive to catch buyers.
And you hit the nail on the head where Adam found this deal. It looked like he found it on Zillow, Fizbo, and if anybody's not familiar with that, for sale by owner. So again, going directly to the seller to find this deal. So you've exactly hit that on the head. So I guess there's a lot of key takeaways that we can take from this deal. Obviously, we've learned about seller financing, even in our own market and outside of our markets. What I'd also like to look at is the cash flow of this deal, is that he is self-managing this property. And I noticed something on this deal that really caught my eye, because you and I are in a unique market here in Colorado, and we're familiar with landlord laws here. But what I saw in this post was that he is able to charge $50 a day, and he's actually considering that in his rent. And I just wanted to kind of get your perspective on this, Anson, because I know that, late fees are always great. It feels good. At the end of the year, it looks like the property's performing well. But do you have any cautionary tales about what late fees can actually lead to?
Late fees they're usually some sort of red flag on the tenant that if they're constantly late, there could be a point where in 5 or 6 months where that problem just becomes harder and harder for that tenant to keep catching up. At $50 a day, that's probably some of the most aggressive late fees that I've seen. And so there's going to be a point where the tenant just can't budget for $400 extra every month when their rent is, $700 or something like that. And then now they're paying, a huge chunk on top of that. So you as the owner, I would never count on that for sure. Somebody paying on time is definitely well worth it. But it is interesting that he actually added those numbers in to his post as, hey, I've been getting an extra $400 a month, on top of my cash flow because of my late fees, which is nice, but you can't really count on it. I wouldn't write a business plan around late fees.
And I wanted to hear that from a pro perspective, because I've gone through one eviction in my own portfolio. And again, us being in Colorado, we don't have that sort of landlord control, but I think one of the phrases that I'm thinking is that pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. So, sometimes you want to, keep that friendly connection, but also definitely don't be banking on your late fees into your underwriting. So very, very good feedback here from you, Anson, and definitely good precaution as well. So I think we have a lot of great key takeaways from this deal, and Adam found this deal in 2022. We're here in 2024 again, and I think this still looks like a great deal. But Anson, from your perspective, would you invest in this deal today?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like all the things that are going really well for this deal, being turnkey, no money down, you have a really fair below market seller finance percentage. So your 4% is carrying a lot of weight there. It sounds like the tenants are good. They just pay a little bit late. The only thing that I would worry about is just that lower end of cash flow. That for me is just a little bit thin for my own buy box. I would probably be looking for a way to maximize that cash flow in some way eventually, over the course of 6 months, explore some room by room rental or some midterm rental or something in there to bump that up to possibly double that cash flow would be nice as a little bit of a cushion. But having no work going into it, having no money into it, you really can't go wrong with an extra $200 to $400 a month on no money down on a place that has $30,000 in equity. So yes, I would do this deal in 2024 all day long.
Awesome. I can totally agree with you on that. I would easily do this deal as well. I think one of the terms that I've heard very frequently is you make your money when you buy. And it looks like Adam's made his money when he bought on this deal. So it looks like a real great deal from my perspective. Anson, anything else left for you?
I don't think so, unless Adam wants to sell this deal for $5,000 higher than he paid for it, and then I'll just assume his financing. Then we'll be okay.
Other than Anson Young's bank services, I think we are all done here for the day, but it was really great sharing this deal. Adam, you've got a great deal on your hands, and we look forward to seeing more of your deals and analyzing them here on the BiggerPockets YouTube channel. All right, Anson, where can everybody find you after this video concludes?
Yeah, you can find me on BiggerPockets or here on YouTube at Anson Young.
And if you want to share your deals on the BiggerPockets forums, we have the dedicated Real Estate Success Stories forum if you have a great deal to share. And we also have a forums, deals, and analysis forum if you want to pop your deals in there and have Anson and I check them out. Please like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.